Hello, BookTube. Who's up for a mail haul? A Tuesday mail haul in the teeth of an oncoming winter storm, a messy little thing. Not a gigantic blizzard, at least we can say that about it. The forecasts are not calling for 1.5 feet of snow. They easily could be. This time last year they were. The year before that they were. So, and don't even get me started about the winter of 2015, 2016. Oh my God. Oh my God. So this could be a lot worse. We've had almost no snow. But in a way, I would almost prefer a forecast of 1 foot of snow, because the forecast instead is for freezing sleet and rain and ice and slush, and that's just a mess. But before that all comes, we've got some mail. Some of my mail was delivered before that happened. If the storm breaks in the next hour, which I think it is supposed to begin in the next hour, if it gets really bad, I might not get any more mail today. The second mail delivery, the guy might just call it off and go home. I wouldn't blame him at all. But I have to admit, my spider sense is going off about this mail haul. So I'm being chewed. This is chewing me. Oh. She doesn't know what she wants to do. She's crazy. All right. Don't chew me. I'm going to give you packages to chew. So we'll start with this first one. It's small. It could be a mass market paperback. And if it's a mass market paperback, it could be a romance novel. That would be very nice. Oh no, it's a hardcover of some kind. Do you want this? Ah! Oh! Ooh. Ooh. There we go. No, it's not a romance novel. It comes out in late February. It's a tiny little thing from Amazon Crossing, the translated literature arm of the Amazon publishing empire. This is a pretty thing. It's called Chaos, a Fable by Rodrigo Ray Rosa, translated by Jeffrey Gray. Chaos, a Fable. It's a tiny little thing. Comes out at the end of the month. One of the most widely acclaimed Latin American writers, and surely the most prominent Guatemalan writer, Rodrigo Ray Rosa stands shoulder to shoulder with Roberto Bolaño, Horacio Castellanos, Moya, and Fernando Vallejo. His fiction has been widely translated and is celebrated internationally. I have never heard of this person. Those of you who are in Guatemala, you have, I presume. I'd love to know what kind of standing he has. I don't think I've ever heard of him before. In his magnificent new novella, no novella can be magnificent, but nice try, the author explores faith and anarchy in our much divided, dangerously interconnected world. Mexican author Rubirosa is attending a book fair in Tangier when he reconnects with an old acquaintance, a Moroccan artist who asks one favor of his visiting friend: to access the puzzling files on a memory card. Indeed. The card could also unwittingly draw both men into irreversible events already in motion on distant shores. In America, Abdelkrim, a brilliant, aspiring astronaut deemed too Muslim for citizenship, has teamed up with the equally gifted young prodigy, a witness to the plight of Syrian refugees. Together, the foreign students share a vision of altering the world's geopolitical landscape to end human suffering with a nearly inconceivable blueprint. And they can turn theory into reality. They can bring about change. But only through a technological apocalypse can there be redemption, by unleashing total chaos, hence the title. Okay, that sounds like a lot more than a novella can handle. But we shall see. It comes out at the end of the month, so I can read it right away. I'll add it to the pile today. I don't know this author at all, I don't think. All right, that was an interesting way to start things, wasn't it, Bean? You're done with that already, aren't you? All right, well, let's give you something else to chew. Let's give you something else to chew. Wow! Oh, great. Oh, fantastic. This is from Liverite. I love them. I love the folks at Liverite. This is great. This comes out in May. I'm looking forward to it. This is by John Gans, and it is White House Warriors. Subtitle is How the National Security Council Transformed the American Way of War. And I can identify most of the people on that cover, which is really kind of pathetic in a way. But you have to keep in mind that that for a long time, in addition to being a book wonk, I also wrote about American politics for an audience. So, and I knew the players inside and out, and I was scandalized by a lot of what I saw, and I was scandalized also by a lot of the sloppy way that most reporting was done, then and now. People refusing to state reality flat, instead resorting to euphemisms in order to maintain access. I was writing for a very small Iowa newspaper, so I had no interest or ability to maintain access. What do we got here? On the third floor, and in the small corner of a massive executive office building in Washington, resides one of the most consequential departments of the U.S. government. In this book, John Gans gives a rare inside look at the National Security Council and how its role has shifted and grown since the early outgrowth of the Cold War. Few Americans understand the full scope of the council, other than its visible figurehead, lately John Bolton, but previously Michael Flynn, or its role as consultant to the White House. Our author, a former chief speechwriter at the Pentagon, now in charge of the Global Order program at the University of Pennsylvania's Perry World House, is an insider, an expert on the military, and a master at explaining the insider to outsiders. To Gans, understanding the National Security Council is tantamount to grasping the missing link of foreign policy. Who influences the president's biggest decisions and how? I might have added why there as well, because they have their own agenda, and they always have. Formed in the wake of World War II, the NSC's story heats up under President Kennedy, who fills the council with bright young men from academia with mixed results. Each president's NSC can be characterized in a different way. Nixon's was micromanaged by Henry Kissinger, who had a stranglehold on access to Nixon and shared his deep-seated paranoia. Reagan's NSC went off the rails, cast into turmoil by overreaching staff members who, led by Oliver North, brought scandal to the administration with the Iran-Contra scandal. Kind of neat phrasing there. It sort of squarely blames the NSC for the Iran-Contra scandals. It does it without blinking. They brought scandal on the White House. Okay. All right. President Clinton's NSC was forever betrayed by a president infuriated at what he considered a lack of his good opinions in Bosnia, where Bush 43's was riven by division over whether or not to implement the surge in Iraq. And this is a must-read, according to the pub sheet. It's a must-read for fans of books about the CIA, FBI, or big-picture American geopolitical issues. Of course, you all know what will be the determining factor of whether or not this is, in fact, a must-read. Say it with me now. Steve will be that determining factor. Not a pub sheet, not the author, me. But I will certainly let you know, as this is right up my alley. Oh my, this is right up my alley. This was out in May, but I don't think I will wait that long to read this and see what kind of a spin, because this won't be straight up history. There's no way to write about the NSC without spinning it somehow. In fact, the first thing I should do is find out where John Gans' loyalties lie. I guarantee he has them, and I guarantee in 2019, the world we live in, it's an almost certainty that he will simply pursue those loyalties in this book under the guise of writing history. Unless he proves me wrong. He could very much surprise me and prove me wrong. That would be wonderful. I've seen it happen a couple of times in the last few years. All right, so we're off to a good start here. Let's go to the next one. You ready for another one, Beaterino? They like it better when you jump so that they can see you. No, you're not going to jump. No. All right. Let's see. What is this next one? Okay, it's from Harvard University Press. Not one that I knew was coming or requested. It's due in June. What on earth is this? It's by Tom Nicholas, and it's called VC, An American History. What on earth could that be? What is VC? Veterans something or other? Venture capital? Well, let's find out. Enclosed is a gallery of the first ever history of the venture capital industry. Oh my God. And in many ways, a window into the larger history of America. The author is a Harvard Business School professor. And the book is a major and original exploration of venture financing from its origins in the 19th century whaling industry to the development of high-tech innovation in present-day Silicon Valley. Wow. Okay. Venture capital is not just a model of finance that has proven difficult to replicate in other countries, Nicholas tells us. Instead, it is a state of mind exemplified by an American spirit of adventure, risk-taking, and an unbridled quest for improbable wealth through investment in innovation. VC takes readers on a roller coaster of setbacks and successes in America's pursuit of financial gain. Okay. All right. Depressing reading then. But I'm wondering, of course, I mean, the author is a Harvard business professor, and this is a history of venture capitalism. So, of course, my first question about the book is whether or not it will leave me behind. And if it does, how fast it will leave me behind. I'm wondering, in other words, this is written for the general audience, of which I am a proud member. So we shall see. Do I need to know something about venture capital? It probably wouldn't hurt me to learn something about venture capital, and it is in between now and then. I'm sure there are introductory videos on YouTube, probably a bunch of them. So it's not a deal maker or breaker in any way. Just a question. So now we'll move on to some cardboard here. Bean is barely opening her mouth now. She is not interested anymore. Oh, okay. All right. We saw this already. This is the finished copy. Oh, this is going to be a paperback then. Yeah, this is a paperback original, $16. And it comes out in early March. This is by Tim Morgan, and it's Infinite Detail. We saw this already, but this is I kept expecting it was going to be a little hardcover, but this is exactly it. It looks just like the advanced copy. And it's all blurbs. The pub sheet is all blurbs. And one whole Publishers Weekly starred and boxed review. That's the distinction. The reviewer for Publishers Weekly gets a book. They get, maybe 6 books a month. If they're really, really industrious, they get 6 books a month. And if they read one and it really stands out to them, then when they file their review, they also tell their editor, I would like this to have the highest distinctions that we can give it. This is truly outstanding among the books that I review. Publishers Weekly is a lot like Library Journal and Kirkus Reviews in that they take that completely seriously. They don't mandate it. They take that from reviewers completely seriously and ordinarily comply. So it is a market distinction. It means that it stood out to a reader who's only reviewing things. Well, what have we got here? Maybe I can read it off the book. Before. In Bristol's center lies the Croft, a digital no man's land cut off from the constant surveillance, big data, and corporate hegemony that have overrun the rest of the world. 10 years in, it's become a hub of creative counterculture, but it's fraying at the edges, radicalizing from inside. After. An anonymous act of cyber terrorism has permanently switched off the internet. Global trade, travel, and communications have collapsed. Luxuries that characterize modern life are scarce. The community of the Croft still exists, but it is now more black market and urban farm than creative commune. Okay. So the end of the world as we know it in one little novel. And this is due in early March, so again I can just put this on my list because I have not touched my advance copy. All right, let's move on here. Let's see what we've got. The National Security Council book is definitely something that I am looking forward to reading, but nothing that we've seen so far has really accounted for my spidey sense, which is kind of odd because my spidey sense is usually correct. But a book on venture capitalism is not going to do that. So let's see. Okay, this next one is due in May. This is by Roxana Robinson, and it's called Dawson's Fall. This is her new novel is a bold book, confronting as it does one of the most shameful chapters in our collective past, Reconstruction. It is an intensely personal novel because in these pages, Roxana confronts her family's past. Okay. She has based Dawson's Fall on the story of her great-grandparents in post-Civil War Charleston, South Carolina, where her great-grandfather, Frank Dawson, was the co-founder of the Charleston News and Courier, a paper that is losing its readership because of his progressive political ideals in the midst of Reconstruction. The novel is a seamless meshing of Robinson's brilliant narrative style with her family's letters and journal entries as well as newspaper stories. Okay, all right. Okay, that's not possible. You're either writing a novel or you're not. You're either writing a novel or you're not. The only way you could seamlessly mesh your family's letters and autobiographical photo albums is if you were writing autobiography. If you mesh that with fiction, those things become fiction. So, on your reading tour, you cannot say to a question from an audience that says that something in Chapter 20 was unlikely, well, it really happened that way. No, you cannot say that. I've railed on this channel about autofiction before, this noxious habit of new writers writing a novel about a main character who has their name, whose parents have the name of their parents, whose girlfriend has the name of their girlfriend, and who's attending a college they attended at the exact same time with teachers that have the exact same names as they attended, and then you call it fiction. That trend called autofiction really bugs me. Because it is facilitating the rising up of an entire generation of writers who do not know how to write. They do not know how to invent fiction. So what happens when they run out of their own story to tell? Then they've got nothing, and we're left with a generation. But this at least complicates that by giving it a historical element. But I worry when I hear news about, when I hear mention of the author's own family. That worries me. Because that is an open invitation both to laziness and to sanctimony. And I don't want to encounter either one of those in the fiction that I read. Fiction's dumb enough as it is without encountering those things. So let's just move on. This next one's really big. So that could be the thing that's setting off my spidey sense. Oh no, it's 2 books. Okay, it's 2 books. What have we got here? Oh, okay. All right. Okay, these are 2, I think they're both thrillers. They're both from Little Brown. They even kind of look the same, but oh my god, one of them has a title to die for. So first we'll do this one. This is by Amy Rose Capetta and Corey McCarthy, and it's called Once and Future, and has a sword on the cover, so you know what the allusion is to. And do we have a description here? King Arthur as you've never imagined. The bold, sizzling YA novel retells the popular legend of the once and future king as a teenage girl, and she has a universe to save. Ari Helix has been chased her entire life. A fugitive refugee in territory controlled by the evil Mercer Corporation, Ari has always had to hide who she is, until she crash lands on old Earth, pulls a magic sword from its ancient resting place, and becomes the 42nd reincarnation of King Arthur. The wizard Merlin awakens to find that having aged backward over the centuries, he is now wretchedly a teenager. Training the girl king may be Merlin's first chance to break the curse that keeps Arthur coming back, before Merlin himself blinks out of existence. He just needs Ari to embrace her destiny as the ruler who will unite a galaxy against corrupt, tyrannical government and bring peace and equality to all humankind. Okay. All right. I don't know that I'm spiritually ready for King Arthur as a social justice warrior, but I will give it a try because Arthurian pastiches and rewarpings are cat's milk to me. I just love them. The only problem that I have here is the plagiarism, and that is might be endemic to the youth of the author. It seems like both the authors are very young, but Arthurian legend does not tell us that Merlin ages backwards. Okay, T.H. White made that up for the Once and Future King, so this could be an homage to the Once and Future King. Fine. It seems odd that would be the only element of homage in the whole thing. We shall see, though. The idea of King Arthur as a fugitive teenage girl has lots of dramatic potential. So this comes out in late March. I know exactly what's going to happen. Oh my god, I'm so predictable as a reader. I know exactly what's going to happen. I'm going to read this, and regardless of what I think about it, one way or another, I might hate it, I might like it, but I know what's going to happen. I'm going to finish this, and I'm going to reread The Once and Future King by T.H. White. I just know that I am. I might as well get it off the shelf in the other room right now and just have it ready, because I'm going to read this soon, and I know that I'm going to want to reread the whole of that book when I'm done. Maybe it should be a read-along. Oh, but it's not free. I like our read-alongs on this channel to be free books that you don't have to buy. And I haven't had anybody say, no, don't bother. So I think that is probably a wise parameter. I know I'm going to do it, though. And then this next one is a James Patterson Presents novel. James Patterson has written a string of thrillers as long as a boat. He is a New York Times best-selling author a dozen times over. And he's one other thing, too, that a lot of people don't know about him. He's incredibly generous as an author. When a James Patterson novel comes out that is co-written by someone else, their name is nice and big and prominent, as opposed to being small or absent, like in the case of 4 or 5 major big-name authors with a book every year I could tell you about, who haven't written their own books in years. and whose co-authors, or in this case, complete author, the author of the book, are never even mentioned. You only have to know it in, literary world back gossip, but you'll never see it in their book. James Patterson, completely different approach. His co-writers have generous credit, and he is also willing to help them with their own careers. I think that's great. And one of the things he does is this line of books called James Patterson Presents. And the author of this book is Derek Millman. And I'm intentionally not showing it to you because the best thing, the book could be wonderful, but the thing that'll grab you is the title. I could kill for the title. So I'm just going to tell you about the book, and then I will show you the title. Finding himself alone in a posh New York City hotel room for the night, Aiden does what any red-blooded 17-year-old would do, tries to hook up with someone new. But that lapse in judgment leads him to a room with a dead guy and a mysterious flash drive, two things that spark an epic case of mistaken identity that puts Aiden on the run from the authorities, his friends, his family, the people who are out to kill him, and especially from his own troubled past. And the book is called Swipe Right for Murder. This comes out in August. A long time from now, long after winter storms are a distant memory, you will have Swipe Right for Murder in your bookstores. The protagonist is a teenager. He's on the run immediately. He finds a dead body in a hotel. There's a technological angle. So, in other words, I guarantee you that this will be a movie very soon after it's a book. And Hollywood loves the young protagonist. They will scour to see who they can get to star as the young star of this show. I think it's made for that. I hope for Derek Millman's sake that it does happen. I hope that if the book is good, I hope that it's also successful. But it doesn't come out until August, so I probably won't get to it right away. That noise is the bean. She is destroying things. You're destroying things. All right, now we'll move on. We have two things to do now. One is a box, and one is an enormous envelope. So I ordinarily end my mail hauls with a box, but I'm going to end with the enormous envelope. The envelope is from DHL. It's not a normal mailer. I don't know what it is. Maybe it is the source of my spider sense going on. So we're going to do the box first. A little bit of an anticlimax, but we'll do the box first. All right, so okay. All right, this is the first complete and annotated English-language translation of Solomon Maimon's autobiography. Okay, so did you get that? This is the autobiography of Solomon Maimon, from the great folks at Princeton University Press. This is translated by Paul Reiter. And let's see what we got here. Solomon Maimon's autobiography has delighted readers for more than 200 years. I can't remember that in America that there has ever been a popular paperback edition of this book. From Goethe, Schiller, and George Eliot to Walter Benjamin and Hannah Arendt. The American poet and critic Adam Kirsch has named it one of the most crucial Jewish books of modern times. Here is the first complete and annotated English edition of this enduring and lively work. Born in a down-on-its-luck provincial Jewish family in 1753, Maimon quickly distinguished himself as a prodigy in learning. Even as a young child, he chafed at the constraints of his Talmudic education and rabbinical training. He recounts how he sought stimulation in the Hasidic community and among the students of the Kabbalah, and offers rare and often wickedly funny accounts of both. After a series of picaresque misadventures, Maimon reached Berlin, where he became part of the city's famed Jewish Enlightenment and achieved the philosophical education he so desperately wanted, winning acclaim for being the sharpest of Kant's students, as Kant himself described him. And this is his story of his own life. I have read it, but this will be a new experience for me completely. That's fantastic. Okay, so this is already out. This came out in January, a month ago. But I missed it completely. Of course, you would never see this in a bookstore. So it's new to me. 'Tis new to me. So I will, wow, I will get to this right away. This could be lots of fun. And the annotations are extensive, it looks like, so that'll be thrilling in its own right. Okay, but even so, Maimon's autobiography is not Spider-Sense material. So we only have one more chance, in which case, if this doesn't work, then my Spider-Sense has to be taken into the shop for repair. Because although this is an interesting mail haul, and although Swipe Right for Murder is something I want my autobiography to be titled, well, let's see what this last one is, and then we'll just see. This ends it for now. I don't think there are going to be any more books today. I think all we're going to get for the rest of the day is Sleet and Snow. Oh, okay, this last one has many books in it. What? Okay, all right. Okay. The last thing this envelope was the source of my Spidey sense going off. This is an envelope full of romance novels. Now, the first one, there are 5 of them here. The first one's one we've seen already. I now have a double. This is The Pursuits of Lord Kit Kavanaugh by Stephanie Lawrence, which, you remember, we saw it just the other day, and it's set in the Victorian era. It's a historical romance novel, but it's not a Regency. Then the next one is by Patricia David, and it is The Amish of Cedar Grove. This is called The Wish. Another example in the extremely popular, extremely lucrative, and unbelievably confusing penchant of modern-day romances to romanticize the Amish. I do not understand it at all. and yet, these are a cottage industry. You can't go wrong. If you're an author and you want a built-in guaranteed audience, you can't go wrong writing an Amish book. I don't get it. I have to assume that most of the writers of these books, and certainly all of the readers, don't know anything about the Amish, and have never met any of them. So it becomes a very, very idealized way of getting an old-timey, churning buttermilk, innocent young maidens setting in the modern world. What have we got here? Widow Laura Beth Yoder, there's always a Yoder, longs for a family of her own. So much so that she's preparing to leave the sleepy Amish town she calls home to find love. But a terrible storm washes out the creek, forcing her to wade in and save the life of an English man. Not English, Englishers. Because a thing that Amish fiction writers absolutely love is to dote on the fact that certain Amish communities refer to all people who aren't Amish as the English, as Englishers. No contemporary Amish people do that anymore. They haven't done it in 50 or 60 years, but every single novel has them do that, has them just automatically think that way. The man in the creek it's himself in danger and also his adorable infant son, so you can see where this is going. As they recover at the farm, the baby brings sunshine and joy, while the handsome outsider is filled with shadows and secrets. And by recover, we have to assume that the author means recover from being wet. Because if either one of them have, for instance, a bad cut or a viral infection, they're not going to recover at the farm. They're going to die there. Just like they would have 300 years ago. They're just going to go there and die. Because not only is there no medicine at the farm, but there is no means to contact the outside world for medicine. Very romantic. Joshua King owes his life and his son's life to Laura Beth. Still, lingering at her farm is out of the question. He must fulfill a promise he made to his estranged wife on her deathbed to deliver their son to his Amish in-laws. With this dark past, Joshua has no other choice. But his plans never took this sweet and surprising Amish widow into account. She just might be his second chance at happiness and love. No mention of the fate of the son, who, according to his dead mother's wishes, is being handed over to a life of manual labor in a farm. No internet, no chance at self-improvement, no education, no Copernican awareness. The world is flat and is lit by lamps in the sky. That's not child abuse. I don't know what is, but maybe the boy will come to a good end in this story as well. But anyway, that is The Wish, and the clever. That's actually a very pretty cover, right? But the cleverness of the title is that it covers both the wishes. Laura Beth has a wish, but so does the man. They both have wishes, and that's kind of neat. So that's our second romance. Then the third one looks like a contemporary cowboy romance. This is a Gold Valley novel. It is by Macy Yates, and it's called Unbroken Cowboy. if you want a novel, a romance novel called Broken Cowboy, there's a whole section of the internet you can go to, but not this book. Kindly get your minds out of the gutter. This is Unbroken Cowboy. And what have we got here? Gold Valley is in Oregon. So this is going to be another location romance. Those can be a lot of fun. Dane Parker traded his trailer park roots for glory as a bull rider. Bean, do you mind? But when a serious injury sidelines him for months, it's the first time he can't just pull himself up by his bootstraps. The last thing he wants to deal with is sweet family friend Bea, treating him like one of her wounded animals, or the unexpected attraction that suddenly flares between them. So he's bedridden, but I guarantee you he won't be bedridden in the way of most bull riders. He won't have his guts hanging out in a colostomy bag or a big A-frame of metal around his neck. He'll have a picturesque injury. Beatrix Layton has loved Dane for years, while he's always been seen her as another sister. When she enlists his help to start her animal sanctuary, she thinks it will give him purpose. Instead, it brings out all the desire she feels for him and brings it to the boiling point. Bee's father taught her early on that love means loss, but could her forbidden crush turn into a love that will last a lifetime? Unbroken Cowboy. So in a way, he has been broken, but he's going to heal his way straight into her arms. And then we have 2 trade paperbacks, but I think these will probably come out in mass market when they eventually do come out. No, they're both going to be trade paperbacks. Okay, great, fantastic. So the first one is Sarah Morgan. Boy, these all have lovely covers. This one is called One Summer in Paris. Look at that. That is actually not possible to do anywhere in Paris, but that's what fantasies are for. Let's see. To celebrate their 25th wedding anniversary, Grace has planned the surprise of a lifetime for her husband, a romantic getaway to Paris. Good luck. But she never expected he'd have a surprise of his own. He wants a divorce. Reeling from the shock, but refusing to be broken, a devastated Grace makes the bold decision to go to Paris alone. She has longed to return for years, and it's time to fulfill her own dreams. That sounds like a rather healthy plan. How much you want to make a bet that romance complicates things? Audrey, a young woman from London, leaves behind a heartache of her own when she arrives in Paris. A job in a bookshop is her ticket to freedom, and Audrey's determined to enjoy every single second of her adventure. But with no money and no knowledge of the French language, suddenly a summer spent wandering the cobbled streets alone seems much more likely, until she meets Grace, and everything changes. Grace can't believe how daring Audrey is, can't believe how cautious newly single Grace is. Audrey can't believe how cautious Grace is. Living in neighboring apartments above the bookshop, this unlikely pair offer each other just what they've both been missing. They came to Paris to find themselves, but finding this unbreakable friendship might be the best thing that's ever happened to them. So they're personality opposites. That sounds like fun. If that's done right, that's always fun. Okay, so One Summer in Paris. Aww. And then the last one. This is by Robin Carr. We saw Robin Carr last on this channel with a great, terrific getaway, guilty pleasure, palate-cleansing novel called The Best of Us. Oh, what a book. And this is... That came out just recently, didn't it? No, it didn't. Yeah, it was a Sullivan's Crossing novel, and I don't think this is. Okay, it is listed here, but it doesn't give me a date. But it came out just recently. It was late last year. And this one is called The View from Alameda Island. Another beautiful cover. Just fantastic. What a run. The whole thing is lovely. So this comes out in April in a paperback. Great. Fantastic. Both of these do. They'll be trade paperbacks, so you won't be breaking the bank to buy them. From the outside looking in, Lauren Delaney has a life to envy. A successful career, a solid marriage to a prominent surgeon, and 2 beautiful daughters who are off to good colleges. But on her 24th wedding anniversary, Lauren makes a decision that will change everything. Lauren won't pretend things are perfect anymore. She defies the controlling husband who has privately mistreated her throughout their marriage and files for divorce. As she starts her new life, she meets a kindred spirit, a man who is also struggling with a decision to end his unhappy marriage. But Lauren's husband wants his perfect life back, and his actions are shocking. Facing an uncertain future, Lauren discovers an inner strength she didn't know she had to fight for the hope and happiness she deserves. And if that strikes you as teetering on the edge of some dark material, that is true. I have learned that about this author. The Best of Us had that as well. And it starts from the same premise, a seemingly idyllic situation, a family, an island, that the author has the guts to tear apart completely like a wild animal, just to see what will happen, to see whether or not her characters can piece it back together. The Best of Us was wonderful. So I am already predisposed to like this new book, although it's nothing to do with romance, but I'm just a big enough Star Trek fan to hear Alameda and immediately start quoting a certain sequence to myself. I won't belabor it for those of you who aren't Star Trek fans, but the naval base at Alameda comes up in a Star Trek movie. Now it's all I can think about it. Anyway, that was the thing that was setting off my Steve Spider sense. A whole envelope full of romances. That is wonderful. So let's see if we can do a Steve period. We have a lot of books here. So we have the Autobiography of Solomon Maimon. Fantastic. In a new translation with new annotations. That is the real attraction here for me. Then Once and Future, about a young teenage girl, King Arthur. Then Swipe Right for Murder. If the book is anywhere near as good as the title, I'm going to be a big fan. Then VC, not the Viet Cong, but venture capitalism. The history of venture capitalism in the United States, from the whaling industry all the way to the present day. Then White House Warriors, the National Security Council, from the end, it sounds like the emphasis will be on the Kennedy administration and forward. Dawson's Fall by Roxana Robinson, a historical novel that weaves in her own family's history. Chaos by Rodrigo Rey Rosa, a Guatemalan author of some renown. I'd love to hear from those of you who know of him. Then Infinite Detail by Tim Mongan, which has a hurricane on the cover. I don't know if you spotted that. It's got a massive hurricane on the cover. Almost lost control of the Steve Pyramid there. Then we have One Summer in Paris. Two very different women meeting at just the right time in, I guess, the novel is going to have us to believe exactly the right place. Then The View from Alameda Island by Robin Carr, who I must admit is really growing on me as an author. The Best of Us is stuck in my mind, especially a couple of the climactic scenes of that book that I did not see coming, which is not usual in a romance novel. And I don't mean that as criticism, but ordinarily I can see things coming in a romance novel a mile away. I highly recommend The Best of Us, and I will probably end up recommending the naval base at Alameda. then Unbroken Cowboy by Macy Yates. He's been injured in bull riding, but he's going to find something better than a silver belt buckle. The Wish, about contemporary Amish romance. And a book we saw before, so now I have a double. The Pursuits of Lord Kit Kavanagh, a Victorian historical romance. So there you go. The romances were the Steve Spider sense, and they were all the way at the end of this haul. So, but this video is hideously long, as are they all. But then again, I deprived you yesterday. So I will wrap this up for now, and we'll see what bookish content we can come up with the rest of the day. But if not, then we'll be back tomorrow. Thank you, BookTube.